Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very bright evening in the fall on the western slope of Colorado. And today I'm going to show you how to do the steering shaft and the steering column mount for the Vic because they are both in and they are both done. They work wonderfully. So let's roll right into it. If you haven't seen the last episode, go ahead and click back, watch that one before this one so that you know where we're at. And if you like this, go ahead and smash that like button because it lets the YouTube algorithm know that I'm doing something right. So, have a good day. God bless. Hit that subscribe button, share with your friends, and I will talk to y'all later. Alright, so let's talk steering shafts for a minute. So, this one would be the lower one for the stock 96 Crown Victoria. And that right there is the butt end of the S10 steering column. This right here is what bolts onto that. We need to be able to get this and that combined together and occupy the same space, which is not going to be an easy task, but I think it is manageable. We shall definitely see. Yeah, it might be helpful if you guys could see. So this is the S10 part, and it's only got a little tiny connection area right there. So I think what's going to happen is the steering column is going to have to be put in and connected to this before it's bolted in there, because I don't think this is going to have the collapsible feature that it's supposed to have for safety. And if you wad this thing up in the wall hard enough that it's getting into that steering shaft, it's not a whole lot of car anyway, so I'm kind of just like, fuck it. So I'm going to cut this one first, the S10 one, and then we're going to attach it and see how close we can get to that one. And then we'll just keep figuring it out per the usual course. Is that good? Alright, good. So I think we're going to start right here, right on this obvious edge. And when I get done cutting it off, cut this clamp off of it and clean this boot out of it. I'll fill this up with grease. Redneck, y'all know. Fuck that shit. Alright. Back outside. This is what you come up with. So let me get this attached to that, and we'll see how close this guy is by itself. And with that, you get about that close. So, wondering, see how those two lines kind of line up? Wonder if that would be the best option. I'm not really sure. I definitely think I'm going to pull the stock Crown Victoria one out and cut it at that line, and then we're going to see what happens from there. Sound good? Tits. Get you something that looks like this. See if that fits. Alright, so there's the Beezes. That's what we wanted. Now, if you could just weld these two together and you were to trust it, you could have, whatever travel this is into this thing, because it still goes in there. But I don't trust it. So I think what we're going to do is get these lined up straight. Should be a little off, actually. Whatever this is, we will mark them. Whatever I feel comfortable with. And then we're going to weld, or probably box it and pin it, and then just weld it all solid. And we'll fill this part full of grease. But with this one, and that one, it's hard to see, this swivel joint, whatever you want to call it, this angle shouldn't be a problem. And that actually clears. It doesn't look like it, but it does clear. So I think this is what we're gonna go with, and we will call it good and start getting it all cleaned up. I'll show you how we're gonna fill that gap too. So that'll be good. We'll get it spray painted, get these cap and ring back on it, get it back together, and have a steering car with a custom steering column in it. Custom. Alright, to save y'all some trouble, I did what I said I was gonna do. Oh, excuse me, hiccup. And I drilled through them after lining them up and stuck the pins through it. So now this box is a little bit bigger than this bar. So I'm gonna put a washer here and a washer here on the inside so that it doesn't move back and forth. And we'll attempt to do the same thing with this one. See how it's got a jingle jangle in it? We may even have to get some super thin ones. But either way, we'll get it to where it's square in there. And we'll get some nylon locking nuts. Right? Follow me? And we will weld all of this up and then put the nylon locking nuts on it. We'll like protect them a little bit like that or whatever. You savvy? So that is the next project. I'm gonna get that bitch back out of there, and then we will get it welded up and call her good. She will be fully welded and double pinned. So this should be relatively as safe as humanly possible, at least for my capabilities, which is good enough for me. Catch up with you in a few. Alright, Dad's out there working on his Jeep. We decided against the locking nuts, and we went ahead and welded the nuts in. And I put a washer in between the shaft on either side to make that snug, and then went ahead and welded it full 360 degrees top and bottom and grinded that bitch out. And I definitely don't think that that will be coming apart. So now we're going to give this a good old spritz of black, and then we'll get the steering column out and we'll give it a good old spritz of black. And we'll start reassembling this thing for the final time. Ooh, pretty proud of how this turned out, just this part. Alright, so Dad came out here and he helped me paint the new steering shaft, and dangling here is the steering column mount, and we've got the tip of the steering column itself painted. So I'll let these dry up a little bit, probably put another coat on them, and then we'll get it reassembled and see how it looks. And fully installed, she'd be looking like a factory piece. And she's got all the angles and all the dangles in all the right places. So now all I gotta do is put this power steering line back in, and that section is done. And then in here, the steering column is actually mounted. The old steering column mounts went way up there and then took a right, and it dropped the steering wheel so far down that it was impossible to sit in this thing. So I lopped those off and I made a bar that goes straight across and picks up these 2 points. And I literally set the steering column on top of it and marked it. Pulled this bracket off, cut those ears off, welded it straight to it, and now she ain't going nowhere. So, next up on the list, I have an ignition switch for this. And I also figured out how to remedy that problem. And then I have another steering wheel I need to put on this. This quick release, and then we should be done with this, and then I can work on it with no steering wheel in it, and I can just throw it in the back seat or take it over to Girlie's house or do whatever with it, because it doesn't matter because it comes off. So that'll be sick. But that's pretty much the end of this episode. Got that bitch in there, got it mounted, got the steering shaft adapted, got it in, got it hooked up, got it ready to go. In between episodes, I'll clean stuff up and get that power steering line in back in and fill the gap. Yeah, you can see a little bit of sunlight right there. Fill that up. be good to go. And I will catch you guys next episode for a whole bunch of finagling with this thing, because you got to tear it all the way down to get the 3 bolts that are like right here that cause it to jingle jangle, because they backed out after, I don't know, 40 years or whatever it is now. So I got to get all the way down to get these 3 bolts out, or 3 bolts tightened, and you got to get the ignition switch out. I lost the keys for this one, so it's no real big loss to me. New one has keys, and then the new steering wheel adapter and quick release steering wheel, and we will be good to go on that. And she does have tilt, and she will remain to have tilt, because that's sick as fuck. Has turn signals. Also has a wiper switch, if I can figure out how to get this to work. I am going to pick up another set of stock Crown Victoria wipers that I threw away when I was young and dumb, and they fit on top of all of this shit, believe it or not, I promise. So hopefully get those back in place, and then between this, those, and the painless wiring harness, figure out how to get it all to talk to each other so that I can have wipers too. I've got defrost figured out. We're working on figuring out a heater. Obviously you're going to figure out some kind of dash to put back in this thing, or lop it here and only have this much dash. I don't know, that's to be seen, but we will catch up with you guys at a further time. I gotta get some money for that steering wheel adapter. That's the only piece that I'm missing, and then we will get this thing back together, at least for the steering stuff, and then we will work on putting the painless wiring harness in it. As far as me personally goes, I'm doing great. I appreciate all your guys' support. I know I went through some shit, but finally getting the pieces picked up and put back together. There you go, now you can see me. Getting the pieces put back together and getting my life figured out and moving forward. That's always the direction. Forward and upward. Except for when you're at 150 miles an hour. Then you don't want upward, you want downward. But that's a totally different topic. Alright, y'all. Get out there and wrench on something. Have a good night and God bless. Bye!